Since Pesach is coming soon this year, I want to discuss a few different ideas on a few short videos. Each one will discuss only one idea about Passover. So in this video, I want to just say a few words about the connection between the weekly Parsha of Tzav, which we always read on regular year when there's one other. We read Tzav before Pesach. This year is going to be right before Pesach because Pesach falls on the first day of the week. So we're going to have 3-day holiday basically, right? Shabbos, Shabbat, and then 2 days of Pesach. Of course, that's outside the land of Israel. In Israel, only 1 day of the holidays is kept, as of course is biblical law. The second day is rabbinical law. So in the land of Israel, it's going to be 2 days in a row. Shabbat, and then Sunday will be Pesach. So, of course, after that there is still Passover, but that's going to be Chol HaMoed until the last days. So the holidays, the Yom Tov, when most works are forbidden, is going to be only Sunday in Israel and Sunday and Monday outside the land of Israel. So, since Parshat Tzav is usually read before Pesach, we might expect that there is some kind of hint in this Parsha to what's happening before Pesach. And I think there is such a hint. And that is, where do we learn the laws of kashering vessels from? Especially in the old times when metal was much softer. Today, the way they make steel, it's very strong metal and it absorbs very little taste. It's very hard to feel the taste. I mean, there are experiments that were made like this. Imagine, let's say, a person would, pour, let's say, hot milk and then wash the cup. Let's say it's a metal cup, just for the sake of argument. Take a metal cup, pour hot milk in it, boiling milk in it, then pour it out or let somebody drink it, and wash the cup, and then you pour a cup of tea in there without any milk. And then take a second cup that did not have milk, and also pour a cup of tea. And I challenge you, if there will be anybody in the world that you'll find that will be able to tell which cup had the milk just a moment before tea was poured, and which cup was absolutely clean. It's very hard to find metal today that absorbs strong taste. Although there are some people who are allergic to milk, there are different allergies for milk, but in some cases it's absolutely horrid. Like even a very small particle of milk can bring them to danger. So for such people, yeah, they can actually tell. And tell the hard way, Chas v'shalom, they'll actually be in danger. I know one such person. So this person, for instance, if they would cook something or fry something on a pan that had milk, even if they wash the pan and immediately fry something else, he may be in danger. So yeah, there are definitely some people, it's not the whole world, that can tell. But certainly regular people that don't have such sensitivity, by simply tasting, they're not going to be able to tell if somebody used this cup for hot milk right before tea without milk was poured in it. So today metal is different. And there are some rabbis, by the way, who take that into account. Some rabbis think that maybe the law should change also. All these laws that we have with regards to kashering vessels, maybe we should include the information, the fact that today the metal is much stronger than it used to be. But the way they used to make regular iron and certainly copper, those types of metals do absorb some taste. Probably less than, certainly less than clay vessels, but some absorption happens. So in fact, we can learn it from the written Torah. Believe it or not, these are not just laws that the rabbis tell us. These can be read in our parsha. So just like people prepare for Pesach by kashering vessels, so too in this week's parsha we actually learn the source for kashering vessels. What's that source? As I mentioned in the previous lesson, a lot of times we learn something from a parsha that deals with the temple service, which doesn't apply today. The temple was destroyed almost 2,000 years ago, and yet the laws or moral lessons can be learned even today, many different ones. So this is an example. The Torah tells us that when certain karbanot are brought, certain offerings are brought, they can be only eaten for a certain amount of time. There are some karbanot that are eaten for 2 days, some karbanot are eaten for 1 day, but no karban can be just eaten forever like regular food. They all have a limit of how long you could eat. And it talks about if a person cooked, for instance, meat of a korban, right? A certain offering was brought in the temple, and then meat was cooked. If it's a clay vessel, there's no way to clean it of the food that it absorbed. So therefore, once the time is finished, you cannot eat anymore this karban. This clay vessel becomes useless. You cannot use it for cooking anything because once it absorbs something, you cannot kasher it. So that's where we learn the fact that clay vessels, and similar to clay, there are some other materials that absorb a lot of food. So they cannot be kashered. And then it says about the copper vessels, the vessels from metal, those ones can be kashered, but they need to be kashered. Right? They do absorb a little bit of food, but they can be kashered. And that's the kashering process that we still use today. And that is the way it absorbed, that's the way it gives up the taste. So it absorbed through cooking, let's say, if something was cooked with water, like let's say a soup, or meat was cooked in water. So therefore, the same way the kashering is simply boiling water in the same vessel. That's how vessels are kashered. The way it absorbs, that's the way it gives up its taste. And that's the way we kasher the vessels for Pesach, of course. That's the laws, complex laws of Pesach, if you want to kasher a cooking pot or something like that. As opposed to something that had direct contact, if something was frying without liquid, the meat was on a piece of metal, then it's much stronger kashering that's needed, because there's direct contact. It's not just cooking and boiling through water, but the meat was on the piece of iron that was very hot. Therefore, the kashering is making this piece of iron hot, so that even sparks come from it. It's basically heating this piece of iron to a very high temperature. That's called libun, a more complex method of kashering. So that's just an example where the laws that apply right before Pesach happen to be at the time when we actually read these laws in Parshat Tzav, even though the specific laws don't apply to us because it has to do with temple service. That's what I want to say on this lesson, and on the next lessons I'll go into more technical details with regards to the coming holiday of Pesach. And I wish everybody a happy and kosher Passover that starts this year. Basically a week from now, from a little bit less than a week from now, on the coming Sunday.